guys, welcome back to Cyberspace Investigations. When EA took over as the sole developer of Star Wars games, there may have been a little worry, but after Star Wars Battlefront 1 came out, there wasn't actually too much to be concerned about. Well, then Battlefront 2 came out. This about describes it, right? EA was not trusted after this event, but they finally turned it around with Respawn's Jedi Fallen Order.
Before EA did Star Wars games, LucasArts was an in-house Lucasfilm developer that made a bunch of games that are nostalgic to kids that grew up in the early 2000s. The original Battlefronts, Knights of the Old Republic, and a few others. When the studio went defunct, other developers got to make Star Wars games. DICE's Battlefront was pretty good and a nice start for new Star Wars games. Besides a few mobile games that came out later, we got Battlefront II, which launched in one of the most horrible, terrible, disgusting ways possible. I think after that, Disney put their foot down and told EA to make an actual good game. They revamped Battlefront 2 and it's actually pretty good now, but they needed something good. Something that would make people like Star Wars games again and maybe even trust EA with future projects. Respawn had made the Titanfall series, which includes the popular Apex Legends, and they had been making a game that had a gameplay similar to a Souls game, and after watching it, EA execs told them to transform it into a Star Wars game. It was released 2 years ago on November 15th, 2019, to mostly positive reviews. It garnered quite a few comparisons to the Uncharted series, which had similar climbing mechanics and some similar surroundings. We'll see about that. Let's start with the combat, the thing you'll be doing most. Since you're a Jedi, there are an abundance of force powers to play with. Pulling and pushing offer the chance to cancel out an enemy's attack, with the time stop ability, it does it outright. In terms of the lightsaber combat itself, this is the best it's ever felt. You know how Battlefront 2 really made you feel powerful and great in terms of being a Jedi or Sith? Well, this game trumps that tenfold with the fluidity of the combat. You flow between attacks, dodging is almost instant, blocking feels awesome, and parrying, while hard to pull off, feels great. At some point in the main quest, you unlock the dual-sided lightsaber. This is more for large groups, and I have to say the difference between the two-sided with one enemy is pretty minimal. When you have upwards of 4 enemies, the dual-sided mode just destroys them! Besides the two separate modes, the square and triangle buttons offer light and heavy attacks, which introduces us to the Force meter. It's like stamina meter that would be seen in a Souls game, and is used for blocking, heavy attacks, and all of the Force abilities I mentioned earlier. Force naturally regenerates to a certain point, so that you can use about one ability at a time, while damaging and killing enemies offers you more Force that fills up past the minimal regenerative point. Each ability uses a lot of Force, which offers an aspect of strategy with when you want to use the more powerful abilities. Blocking doesn't use a whole bunch of Force, so it's alright to use whenever basically, even when going up against minigun stormtroopers which have a really fast machine gun. It won't take much stamina to block. Parrying is also an important part, which allows you to deflect bullets back at the enemy and kill enemies faster. I found it tricky to pull off at first, but I got the hang of it later. Traversal is as major a part of the game as the combat. Like Uncharted, Fallen Order has a bunch of different movement options. I would even go as far to say that Fallen Order has more traversal options than Uncharted. However, that's not saying they're better. Climbing is extremely finicky and you'll be falling to your death a lot if you're used to Uncharted's locked pathways of climbing. Here it's much more freeform than either that or Ghost of Tsushima, which has a similar climbing system. This wasn't something I could get used to like Ghost's slightly different climbing controls. This was just a part of the game that caused me trouble throughout. However, there are many other traversal abilities like wall running, swimming, a lot of jumping, sliding, pulling things closer in midair, jumping while sliding. There is a lot of spectacle here. I'm actually impressed. This is a third-party AAA game and they managed to make it have a level of quality I haven't seen in these types of games in a long time. Taking things a step further, each planet you visit has a Metroid-style system where it will have secrets and entire sections of the level that can't be accessed until you get an upgrade to your droid, BD-1, or yourself. New abilities like the Force ones will become unlocked after a certain story progression milestone is hit, and it makes going back to previous planets worthwhile to find new things. However, there isn't a resource system at all, though there are collectibles. This makes most of the things you'll end up finding in the world cosmetics for your lightsaber, ship, or droid. The planets are huge here. Each one of them is probably somewhere around the size of Midgard in God of War, if not bigger. Some of them are dizzying in size, and almost too ridiculous to look at through the 3D map system. Well, the map is actually fairly difficult to read, I'm sorry to say, and while it may look cool, functionality wins over visuals, and the functionality is pretty limited here. Even with the elevation selector making it easier to see, stuff still gets in the way of exactly where you are and where you need to go next. The maps go very deep, and there are a bunch of shortcuts that open up once you get through certain areas. When exploring new areas, it can be much more useful, but going back to areas, it feels like a chore to try and look through the map and comprehend the maze-like levels and the ebbs and flows of the level design. In terms of the plot, we'd be heading into spoiler territory, so skip to the screen time on screen if you don't want any spoilers. Well, there's your time, so let's get into this. Anyway, this game focuses around a time, I don't know, probably 5 to 7 years after Episode 3. It's close enough to the prequels that there are still prequel-era things, but then it's also mixed in with the Empire. It's an interesting time period I didn't know had been explored all too much. It follows Cal Kestis, this Jedi Padawan who somehow escaped Order 66, though there isn't too much info on that front yet. He has been hiding out on a ship-scrapping planet ever since that specializes in destroying Republic and Separatist ships. His friend falls down a pit, and he helps him with the Force, which he had been hiding since the Jedi Purge. From there, he's rescued by Seer, and they all go to restore the Jedi Order while being chased by the Second Sister, one of Darth Vader's Jedi-killing Inquisitors. It's basically a space Spanish Inquisition. From there, the crew goes to a bunch of planets, the plot progresses, and they find out that the Second Sister is actually Seer's old Padawan, who was forced to the dark side after being betrayed to the Empire by Seer. At least that's what you think it is. Cal grows in strength and gains a lot of cool abilities until he is captured by the Second Sister, and his droid has to save him, then escape a gladiator ring. Then to Dathomir, Darth Maul's homeworld, and there Cal fights some zombies, gets some new tools, there's a crazy fight with a massive bird thing there, which I think is like the coolest spectacle part of the middle or the ending of the game. There we go deeper into Dathomir, get to the temple, and then relive Order 66. I wasn't expecting that, but when that clone trooper came out and started shooting at Cal for practice, I was pretty certain. And then after the training, Palpatine's little hologram pops up and we actually get to see how the clones reacted a little bit more than just, "It shall be done, my lord," which is about how I expected.
It will be done, my lord. Alright, so buddy, I know we know each other for years, but some guy in a black robe just told me to kill you, so, time to die.
There are no new abilities that Cal gains here, unless you count trauma and an existential crisis as an upgrade. There's a story fight with Cal's old master, just the ghost by the way, and then the crew goes into the Jedi Temple on Elam, and Cal makes a new lightsaber that can split in two. Then it's back to Dathomir, after going through a pretty challenging section where you have to fight somewhere between 30 and 50 guys in all. Then it's off to Fortress Inquisitorius, where you fight hordes and make your way down to the required rail-lacking platform over a reactor segment. Oh yeah! Except here, beyond the nice final boss fight that puts up a nice fight, Darth Vader himself shows up in all his glory to wreck everything and cause a chase scene I only wish was a little more atmospheric, as it was Vader was intimidating, but not terrifying to the sheer extent he felt like in the Rogue One hallway scene. Then, the holocron, which was the entire objective of the game, gets destroyed, setting it so the Jedi Order will never be rebuilt. Good job! You could have saved everybody, but the Empire is all-encompassing, so you can't do that. And that also places the game in line with the movies. Yay? There are some amazing boss fights in the game, and the characters end up actually being quite interesting given the fact that this is canon, yet none of the characters except the once-appearing Saw Gerrera ever show up in the movies again. Overall, the story is worth experiencing, even if it isn't the most in an essential part of the Star Wars saga, it gives some interesting background to the time between Episode 3 and Solo, one that will be filled even more with the Bad Batch as well.
Jedi Fallen Order has a lot of merit. As the most loved EA Star Wars game, I think it has high potential for a sequel. In that sequel, I would like to see some more city-like planets being in there, specifically Corellia or Coruscant. That might be interesting. Either way, this game is definitely worth at least the $25 I paid for it, if not a full $60 for a die-hard Star Wars fan who hasn't experienced this amazing game. Though if you're not playing it on easy mode, it's gonna be quite challenging, because this is basically a Souls game. It's really, really a Souls game without the souls. So it's just hard. Well, that's all I've got for this one, so see you guys next week for another great program.